I reach her place by 9 p.m. After a week long of discussion and finding a reason, finally, we settle on the fact that the Wi Fi at my place is not working, and product deployment calls usually happen during the wee hours of the night, and that's why I'm coming over. With a cherishable memory of her smile at the sight of flowers, I bring for her a pocket with two fresh carnations and elegant irises placed between them, along with a bucket of ice cream. As soon as I reach her place, the fresh smell of her dal takes me by a warm surprise. Dal rice and aloo fry. I take a moment, feeling special over the fact that she still remembers her hand-cooked dal and rice was my favorite meal when we lived together. As soon as she sees me, she's a little surprised knowing my schedule that I've reached her place way before time, much before the call. Unlike the usual, we don't exchange gestures of love and affection. Usually, she opens the door, stands behind it. I enter the house to take off my shoe, and there she goes running to the kitchen in a loose t-shirt and beads of sweat on her forehead. After a while, as we sit on the floor, I serve the food on 2 plates and bring it to the living room. And we catch up on life. We cry over the misery of urban poverty and find consolation in the similarity of each other's situation. We hit off over the similar fear that we are going to keep being single forever, looking at the rate at which we've been failing in love. As we spend time, I receive a notification on my phone saying that the call is scheduled for 11:30 p.m. in the evening, at night. I quickly clean the plates, clear the kitchen, and settle by the window, enjoying the aftertaste of the dal. Trust me, nothing makes me as happy as a sumptuous meal. She comes from behind with a bucket of ice cream and 2 spoons. Unlike the usual, carrying 2 cups and spoons, just 2 spoons, and settles by me. The wind is blowing cold. She plays एक प्यार का नगमा है मौजों की रवानी है जिंदगी और कुछ भी नहीं तेरी मेरी कहानी है on the phone and just places it aside. None of us utter a single word. We're lost in the song and the sweetness of the ice cream. She spots me looking at her a couple of times. We're not awkward. And we don't feel the need to fill this silence with words that could either sabotage the setup or probably underplay our emotions. We're not lovers to feel content in each other's company to that extent. But we look at the moon together. We look at 2 stars or a few stars in the darkness of the sky and enjoy the slowness of the night without feeling the pressure of having to talk. I look at her, I inch closer, giving a peck on her cheek. She likes it. She moves her cheek closer to my lips and we both smile in that moment. I touch her hair. I touch her earlobes as the moon allows us some tender darkness. But by then, my laptop starts playing the annoying Teams music and it's time for the call. She laughs aloud and she just repeats saying, "This is exactly the reason why we are never going to be together." Trust me, corporate slavery hit me very hard at that time. For you, your work is always over the world and that's never getting us together. I looked at her and told her, "Give me an hour's time, I should be done by then." She walked direct to the bedroom and switched off the lights, signaling a good night without any word. After a while, I was deeply engrossed in the call. She walks into the living room with a bottle of water and just places it beside me. I look at her and signal, give me some more time. She just hums me and returns back to the bedroom. But that was her way of showing love. She wouldn't use too many words, but she'd show her care by such gestures where she'd leave that bottle of water for me. After some time, I finally finished the call and called out her name aloud, to which I realized it's 2:30 a.m. A little guilty, I tiptoe into the bedroom quietly to discover that she's already asleep. Without making too much of noise, I get into the bed and move closer to her. I wrap my arms around her. I lean into her hair. They smell sweet. I lean into her hair and I stay there for a while. She lets out a subtle, ho gaya call. And I just back to her. And I lean into her hair, wrapping my arms tighter as I get a little cozier inside the blanket, spooning her. She likes it. She moves behind, a little closer, befitting the curve exactly the right way. We stay static in that position for a while, except for her hands tracing my face and I holding her very close and tight. We're taken over by the feeling of hill stations and warm blankets in cozy bed. We're not lovers to feel so warm in each other's embrace. I inch closer to her, I muzzle up to her ear, and that's when she turns around, rubs her nose against mine and gives me a peck on the nose. And we're there engrossed with each other in that moment without really questioning the feeling or judging ourselves. For a fact, we've had a lot of flings. When it comes to sex, there's no dirt in our life. But this felt different. This wasn't carnal. This was benevolent. We've spent a lot of time together where I brush her forehead in bed while she holds my arms. While I release pressure points in her palms while she sleeps in the closest boundary of my perimeter. She had her own ways of expressing love. Sometimes she'd cook for me. Sometimes she'd curate a playlist for me. Sometimes she'd just accompany my silences by sitting along and humming a tune. I could never define this relationship. In fact, we never felt the need to define this relationship. So that night, I asked her, what is it about us? To which she replies, it's the comfort, K. It's the comfort that supersedes any other feeling. A comfortable woman is way happier than a woman in love. And I just think to myself, toxic masculinity perhaps never taught me this. She says this and she looks at me, and we are lost in that moment, just realizing how precious every moment is that we're spending together over there. I narrate a new story to her. She kisses me in adoration. At that point, we feel loved, desired, cared, and dusted off all the frivolous energies that have ever come in touch with our body. The next morning, we're anew. A temporarily satiated longing. She wishes that I stayed for coffee. And I wish that I could come back to her. But we depart. We depart in a silence of what the night knows and of what grows in the garden that lacks the appetite for romantic love. On most days, I encapsulate this entire feeling just by a few lines. There's a point beyond friendship and a point before love, where the sea kisses the shores, where the twilight sun meets the moon, where strangers smudge into colors. We briefly meet at that point. Thank you.